Attention, this is crucial for kids. The more attention they have, the better they will be at tasks, and the easier their lives will be. Attention is essentially what this is focusing your mental resources on something, a task, for example. Now, children can allocate their attention in different ways, and they list 4 of them here. The first one, selective attention. This is when you focus on one aspect of experience that's relevant while ignoring all the irrelevant stuff. So let's say you're in a noisy restaurant and somebody's trying to speak with you. You're sitting at the same table. If you're able to block out all the other people and you're able to just listen to this person that's trying to talk to you, sitting next to you, that is a form of selective attention. Divided attention, not good. Almost the opposite of this is when you focus on more than one activity. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, the idea of multitasking. It's not good for you. And the next one is sustained attention. This is maintaining attention to a selected stimulus for a prolonged period of time. This is a good one. Like I talked a little bit about puzzles in the last chapter, the idea that if you're a little kid and you've got 12-piece puzzle, putting that together, and if it takes you maybe 5-10 minutes and you're able to sustain your attention through that task, that's good. Related to this is executive attention. It's kind of like an umbrella, overarching term for all these. Planning actions, giving attention to goals, detecting and compensating for errors, monitoring progress, dealing with new or difficult circumstances. These are all executive attention. Like if you're playing a complex multiplayer game, you got to keep all the rules in mind. You got to keep all the strategies in mind. You got to respond to all the other players. There's a lot of things going on, and that is going to fall under this idea of executive attention. So that is attention. We're going to go through we'll go through infancy, childhood, and adolescence with these. During infancy, like the first year, what they say is that they call it an orienting investigation process that dominates this first year. You're directing your attention to potentially important locations in the environment, recognizing objects and features. And this is going to be closely linked to habituation and dishabituation. Habituation, the textbook definition for this, is a decreased responsiveness to a stimulus after repeated presentations. If you take a little doll to a baby and you show it to them, they're like excited. They're like, oh, this is a novel stimulus. I like looking at this. Show it to them again. They're like, yeah, that's pretty neat. Third time, okay. Fourth time, they might not even look at it because they have this habituation. They're like, I know what that is. I don't need to look at it anymore. Dishabituation is when basically that kind of gets extinguished and they're like, you bring it to them again, maybe a few days later, and they're like, oh, wow, this is neat, something new. It's because they forgot. You could think of it as a forgetting. And so now they are excited to see that thing again. Part of this is the idea that novel stimulus is really important for kids. Along with this, in infancy, with attention, they have joint attention. So this is where 2 or more individuals focus on the same object or event. You see it a lot at the end of the first year, and infants will begin to direct adults' attentions to objects because they want them to look at it with them. And this helps increase the infant's ability to learn from other people. Joint attention is also associated with the development of self-regulation because you're having to do something, you have to work with somebody, you're not just on your own. To do this joint attention, it requires the ability to track another person's behavior, like following their gaze, you're watching where they're looking at, maybe trying to direct the other person's attentions, and this reciprocal interaction. You're working together with each other. And when you do the joint attention, infants say their first words earlier and they develop a larger vocabulary. And these differences can predict better cognitive skills in toddler years. It predicts more long-term memory. Joint attention even lights up very specific parts of the brain, the temporal cortex. And it's also related to self-regulation. FYI, self-regulation, it's another one of these super important skills that you would really like to try to enhance in the kids that you're working with or the kids that you have. If you can't control yourself, you are not going to do well. But if you can, sky's the limit. What all this means with the joint attention, do things with your kids. Read together. Build train tracks together. I spend a lot of time building train tracks with Leif. And he, for a long time now, he'll direct me to it. He'll like, sit here, please. He wants me to sit next to him and help him build his train tracks. If you just give your kid a tablet and then you play on your phone, instead of doing some type of joint attention exercises, you are doing them a disservice, and you are potentially taking away from some of the things that we talked about. Better vocabulary, better cognitive skills, self-regulation. Again, these are the things that you want your kid to have. So joint attention, it's great for them, so you should do it. Okay, in childhood with attention, it increases significantly, as you would think, during preschool years. They make advances in that executive attention, sustained attention, and then their control over attention continues to show important changes through middle and late childhood. What is most obvious or salient is what grabs the preschooler's attention. But after like age 6, 7, children will start to pay more attention to the features relevant to a task or a problem. And teachers can help to develop this skill. Simon Says, this is a really good example because they have to listen and they have to pay attention. And so this is something that can help improve their attention skills. So the ability to control and sustain attention, as you probably can guess, is going to be related to school readiness and academic success. If you can sustain your attention at 54 months, that is going to be linked to school readiness. They had fewer attention problems, and they even had stronger social skills. So think about that. The ability to control your attention is related to better social skills. I mean, that's amazing. So potentially, if you can get your kids' attention skills up, not only will it help them academically, it could help them in their relationships with their peers. So attention, again, super important. In adolescence, so the sustained and the executive attention are important aspects, and they are getting stronger at this time. An increase in this executive attention supports the increase in effortful control that's required to effectively engage in complex academic tasks. There are problems, though, here during this time period. One trend, multitasking, it's essentially that divided attention that we were talking about, is becoming worse, as I'm sure you're all aware. A major influence on this is the availability of multiple electronic media. Phone, you have your computer, you have all kinds of things open, all kinds of apps, your email, all these different things that are opened up. And so you are dividing your attention among all of those things. Multitasking expands the information adolescents attend to, and it forces the brain to share the processing resources on all these different tasks. Your cognitive resources are being split among all these different apps and things that you have open. And as you can guess, the kids that engage in multitasking have poor academic skills and cognitive performance, again, because their cognitive resources are low because they're using it up on all these different things. Related to that, we've talked about the synaptic pathways in an earlier chapter. If you sit down and you focus exclusively on one task, that sustained attention, you will do better at that task, and you are building the habit of being able to focus precisely on one task at a time, and that is what you want. On the other hand, if you are doing 15 different things at once, you're essentially going to be scatterbrained, and you will be building that habit, that synaptic pathway of being scatterbrained all the time, of having anxiety, of all this multitasking. It's like, I have all these things going on. Well, you do, because you have all these different things that are opened up. On kind of a side note, I'm one of the type of people that doesn't really believe in multitasking. It's what I think of it as is task switching. So example, if you are texting and driving, you are not texting and driving. You are either texting or you are driving. You're switching tasks from the texting to the driving, to the texting to the driving, but you're actually not doing both of them at the same time. You're not doing them simultaneously. It's not multitasking, that's task switching. And that task switching, just switching between tasks, uses up cognitive resources. So something to be aware of, think about. And related to this, so if you get into this habit of switching tasks all the time and you have all these different things going on at once, you're going to have what they call intrusive distractions that can come, and they're like all these competing thoughts in an individual's mind. Basically, your mind is lit up all the time, and it's not actually getting a time to just kind of calm down and chill out. So definitely think about that. All right, next slides, we'll get into memory.